Good evening, good evening, good evening. You're locked in to another episode of Red Sea Full Time. Liverpool versus Chelsea, the much anticipated game at Anfield. Virgil van Dijk versus Lukaku. I think that Virgil's come out on top. Personally, 1-1 draw. Are we lucky enough to say that Chelsea have made it out by the skin of their teeth? Or are we going to be looking at the end of the season when we're potentially crowned Premier League champions that this is a point gained? Let's roll the intro. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Red Sea Full Time. You've got one of your hosts, Tiago's father here, and my co-host, the Southern Scouser. How you doing, pal? You okay?
I'm good, mate. I'm all right. I'm a bit disappointed, though. I think you're a little bit more... I think you're happier with the draw than I am, put it that way.
I'm only happy because I think that was my pre-match prediction, so that kind of draws
Mate,
us...
you say about 4 different predictions, and then you just choose whichever one happens. You said yesterday on Terrace, 1-0 win to Liverpool.
No, I did, because I was feeling ballsy. But before that, I think you remember, I thought 1-0, and obviously the guys on the terrace, Monster, was giving me a lot of grief. But I'm sticking with my 1-0 prediction, which I thought. But look,
stick with the one that happens.
Yeah, of course, always. Look, let's get into it because, like you said, you seem a little bit more disappointed than I am. I mean, There's a couple of comments in there as well that are indicating something very, very similar. But I like to try and look at it from the glass is always half full rather than always half empty, because come the end of the season, are we going to be looking at this game and saying, do you know what? We got a point, that was a point there, and that point could potentially be the difference between us lifting the title at the end of the year or us losing it. So you're always going to look back on these games and think, great point, or we really should have taken all 3. And it's so early on in the season. We're game 3. You know, the only thing that makes me think that we should have walked out with everything is the red card.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I tweeted at half-time, these are the moments you look back on at the end of the season. Must win now. And this is against a direct title rival at Anfield against 10 men for 45 minutes. And, you know, you mentioned last night on the Football Terrace that Thiago came on at half-time at the Bridge last season in very similar circumstances. Chelsea went down to 10 men. We dominated the ball and we ran out winners. And tonight, I just think it showed that we're still missing that one player. You know, I tweeted again yesterday that, you know, Grealish, Lukaku, Cristiano Ronaldo, all massive signings for all of our direct title rivals. And, you know, Firmino goes off injured, Jota comes on. Yep, that's fine. But, you know, that's in the first half. Second half comes 50 minutes, 60 minutes, 70 minutes. Mane's having a pretty bad game, and we've got nobody else to put on to make a difference. And, you know, I'm not saying we need to be Man City. You know, they could have played their C team today and beat Arsenal, but I think we need another option. Again, you know, you see Gini Wijnaldum leave the club. Harvey Elliott is now starting ahead of Keita and Ox, which just shows you exactly why we needed another midfielder. As much as I like Harvey Elliott, we should have a more experienced midfielder in that team for this type of game, even though I think he played well. And in that front three, as I mentioned, there's no option off the bench to change that. Mane was having a bad game. I think his goal last week masked that he had a bad game as well. I still haven't seen him be at his best for well over a year. Mo Salah, again, if Mane's not offering anything, that they double up on him. So it makes it difficult for him. And we had 1 or 2 chances in there, but ultimately 45 minutes wasted in that second half. Chelsea were very comfortable and probably had the better chances on the counter-attack for me.
It's not often that we disagree on things, but I think today's going to be one of those occasions. So I'm sure the viewers are here for it. just on the Mane point, I thought he was dogged. I think he worked incredibly hard in terms of winning the ball back and stopping Chelsea getting out. He pressed high up. He went into physical challenges, and this new kind of lease of life these referees are giving the game plays into to players' hands like Mane, because he wants that physical contact. And today, I think he showed that there is glimpses of the Sadio Mane which we're used to being in there. Now he's finishing today with the small opportunities that he did have, the little glimmers of opportunities he did have, are much to be desired. I'm not going to sit here and defend poor finishing, but I will give credit where credit's due. And I think his work rate today was absolutely fantastic. I look at Harvey Elliott, and again, I think Harvey Elliott today was superb. He was knitting things together. He wanted the ball, and early on in the game, you saw Rudiger, you saw Jorginho, all trying to give him those kind of welcome to the Premier League tackles, those little niggly ones where you leave one on a player to say, look, I'm here. You're going to feel me all game. And for a young player of that age to come into that game and say, do you know what? I know you're here, but I'm not going away. I'm going to keep pressing you. I'm going to keep niggling you. And every single time he pressed Rudiger, every single time he pressed Mendy, who all of a sudden everyone's lauding as this fantastic goalkeeper that can play out, he was shit with the ball at his feet. He was shit. Every time he had a little bit of pressure, he melted. The atmosphere got to him. The cauldron got to him. The 12th man got to him. Chelsea are lucky to make it out of a point. There's a good comment here as well from John Coulter. Yeah, 2 points dropped. We may look at it now and say 2 points dropped, but are we going to be saying 2 points dropped at the end of the season? That's the key thing I'm looking at.
That is the key thing, but you mentioned last season. I'm looking at the stats here, and it's a very similar story to last season. 23 attempts, only 8 on target, 588 passes to Chelsea's 268, 42 touches in their box to 13 for them, and 65% to 35% possession. So a game with stats like that, you should not be coming out with a point. You should be coming out with all 3. You know, Chelsea started the game pretty well. They were on the front foot. The first half was back and forward. It was really entertaining. And obviously that Havertz goal, it's one of them moments, isn't it? You know, sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and say, it's a little bit of a freak goal in a way, because I don't think he could do that again if he tried it, but it's a great finish. He's tried it. It's gone in, and it's a great goal. But the big talking point is that moment at half time, isn't it, with Reece James? And for me, yes, I think it is a pen. I think he's unlucky that it comes off his knee onto his arm, but the fact that he actually brushes his arm up, that kind of movement towards the ball. You know, if he keeps his arm still and it bounces off it, we saw a similar one with Trent. I think I can't remember if I think it might be against Manchester City. It kind of bounced off his knee onto his arm, but his arm was stationary. It didn't. Whereas James has almost scooped his arm towards the ball, and you know, if you deny a goal on the line, unfortunately, it's a red card as well. So once that happens, I think the Liverpool fans, you know, if that penalty goes in, you expect them to go on and win that game. And again, I agree with Mohamed here that there's no other options. It's the same. You know, I look at the other 3 I mentioned. Man City have improved their 11 with Jack Grealish. He's going to start the majority of games. Man United have improved their first 11 with Sancho, Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo. They're all going to start the big games. You know, Chelsea have improved their starting 11 with Lukaku. We've lost Gini Wijnaldum and put an 18-year-old in. That's, as much as I love Harvey Elliott, I think he's absolutely brilliant, that he's not as good as Gini Wijnaldum at this moment in time. So our 11 has got worse than last year, and our 3 direct title rivals have improved. So we need to go out and get another option up front, because Mane is not the same player. And I did say this at the end of last year, that if we risk it all, put all our eggs in Mane will be back basket, and he's not, we're going to be in the same position. And Bobby Firmino, yeah, he's good. He does certain things well, but again, he's not going to score you 20 goals a season. So if teams know that they don't have to specifically worry too much about out of form players, they're going to double up on Salah, especially in a back 5, and they neutralise us. And there's no other option that we can bring off that bench to change the game.
Again, I have to disagree. You look at these teams, and we look about the expenditure they've had and the money that they've spent. They've spent that money because they were so far behind us. They've had to go out and spend that money because, with respect, in the season before the title-winning season, we were scintillating. We were so lucky to not win that title. How many teams go all season and only lose 1 game?
Yeah, but how far back are you going? This is 20. We're going into 2022 in a few months.
So let's look at the timeline. So we were fantastic that year. We won the Champions League. Fantastic. No one was near us. The second year, we go on and we win the Premier League. No one got close to us. Yeah. The third year, freak injuries. And without those injuries, I think we win the Premier League again. We would have gone back to back. Yeah, without those injuries. Because by January, we were still in it and we were still leading. We would have won the league. Yeah, even with the Van Dijk injury, we would have won it. Because the other teams were so far off it. So when I'm looking at other team expenditure, they're spending that level of money and bringing these players in because they're desperate to bridge the gap. You're forgetting we already have that ready-made star in our team, in Mohamed Salah. There isn't anybody in the league. You can buy Jack Grealish. You can buy Sancho. You can go out and spend 150 million like Manchester City were doing to try and get Harry Kane. But they're still not Mohamed Salah. He is our star player. Where I feel that we do need to make improvements is with the squad and the backup brigade that we call them. Okay, because the difficulty is that we know that the availability of Henderson can sometimes be limited. We know the availability of Ox is limited. We know the availability of Naby Keita is limited. Thiago had an injury hit season a little bit last year, injury and COVID. So Matip being another example of that, Gomez being an example. Do we know what we're going to get from Virgil van Dijk? So we do have that little niggly worry of injuries creeping into our squad. So I feel where the strength needs, where the strengthening needs to be done is with those rotation players. That's where I feel that we're lacking in the rotation options because the other guys have proved that they're never available. When we've needed them, and when we needed them last season at the most, they were never available. But just throwing it back to this game, we controlled the majority of the game. I just feel that you have to give a little bit of credit to Chelsea's defensive display. They were dogged today. They were dogged. They were doing all the dirty tactics which we associate with Chelsea under Mourinho. Time wasted. At one point, a bottle got thrown onto the pitch. They were doing everything they possibly could do to slow us down. And I feel the momentum lagged a little bit when those kind of things were happening.
I mean, I think that a lot of people in the comments are kind of leaning towards me, if I'm honest. And, I look at a few of the comments and I look at the bench today. We got Minamino, Keita, Chamberlain. These are the next best that we have. We're 1-1 against 10 men and Klopp doesn't use them. He's bringing on a left back with 5 minutes left for a left back. That's not gonna help score a goal. So if he doesn't trust Minamino, Keita and Chamberlain to make a difference in these type of games, when does he trust them? If they can't come on against 10 men for 20 minutes and make an impact in a game, there's no point in them being here. And I know Chamberlain's been off because he's had a baby recently. That's fine, but it doesn't affect his physicality of a game. Naby Keita played in the first two, got took off in both of them, so he's as fresh as a daisy. Not used because he's probably had an average week at training and he's been dropped out. And an 18-year-old Harvey Elliott is looking better than him in training. So, I don't understand why we're expecting to suddenly be challenging up the top again just because we've got a few players back from injury. You need to go again. And we're talking about, a couple of years ago, we were second with 97 points and then we won the league and we won the Champions League. We were crap last year. And I know we had injuries, but you have to go again. Players regress. Firmino and Mane are nowhere near good enough to start week in, week out. And Jota is a great option, but Jota is not world class. He's very close. He's on that bracket down, but he's not a player that's going to get you 20 goals like Salah. And I know every team usually has one that scores goals. You look at Kane, you look at Aguero in the past. There's always one player that tends to score 20 goals. And, Chelsea's top goal scorer last season was Jorginho with 7 because he takes the pens. But they've added Lukaku. He's going to be scoring, 20 goals this season, I would suggest, in the Premier League. And, Chelsea came 4th last year. So to even finish where you came last year, you have to improve because everybody else around you is improving and we haven't. And I think it's very stubborn and to just look at the team and think, yeah, that'll do. That's good enough. We've got all these players that we've signed on new contracts. They're back from injury.
Goals in the team already.
But we need more. Today and last season showed that we need more goal scorers. We didn't, even though the defensive positions was the biggest injuries, clean sheets at times weren't too shabby. It was putting the ball in the net. And again today, you can't break down another team with 10 minutes.
Yeah, so just so I can understand this then, we're looking for more goals in the team. Where do you find those goals? Because if I'm looking at the expenditure that United have gone out to try and fix their problems, what City have gone out to try and fix their problems, what Chelsea have spent to try and fix their problems. I'm sorry, Liverpool Football Club are never going to do that. We never have done that. We never have.
Well, then we're never going to win a league then.
But again, I think, but you look at the reverse of that, and you look, our model has been vindicated. We never spent that money, and we went and won the league and the Champions League. So
the other teams are better now.
I do see where you're coming from, and I understand that, and I appreciate you that. I appreciate, and I do concede that we may need to make some signing in areas, but I'm not here for £100 million signings. I'm not here for that, because I feel that we have one thing which all the other teams don't, and that's Jurgen Klopp. And that is the thing. And I tweeted.
Do we have to rely on Klopp being a miracle worker every season?
But again, okay. So for example, let's look at the flip side of things. Arsenal spent £130 million in this window. They're no better because their manager is shit.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing us to championship sides. I'm comparing us to
but
big three.
Let's look at it subjectively. You can spend as much money as you want to spend in a window. You can spend £200 million. You can spend £300 million. But if you have a shit manager, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at the flip side of things, and Jurgen Klopp came out in the media very recently and said, what we're looking for that's going to come in and strengthen this group. And we made Taman say he's being blinkered, but I trust Klopp wholeheartedly. And he's saying to get what we need in this window is £100+ million, and we're not going to spend that. So as Liverpool fans and as Reds, we either get with the program, or guess what? You take the shirt off and you throw on a blue shirt, and if you can't beat them, you join them. And I'm not prepared to do that, because I've been a Liverpool fan for a long time, and I look at the way that we do things, and I look at our model, and our model has seen success. So when we jump on the bandwagon of saying that we've got to go out and sign players, we've got to be spending £100 million to compete, FSG, Al, all of these things like that, we have to look at the good things that FSG have done. Without FSG, we'd be probably bankrupt. The club would have gone to the dogs. We wouldn't have had stadium expansion about to go into phase 2. We wouldn't have world-class training facilities. And guess what? We would not have Jurgen Klopp. So with 3 games into the season, there's still 3 days of the window left to go. Let's see where we end up. If at the end of the year, we're looking back and going, we ain't spent a penny, we've finished outside the top 4, I might be with you waving the FSG banner out. I'll be there at front line waving the banner.
I'm not even FSG out. I just think, they need to realise that being in charge of Liverpool is a responsibility to keep them at the top of the English game. And now and again, you need to drop a 40-50 million pounds, and you don't, it needs to be gross. You can't just rely on net spend. You can't just sell to buy all the time. Unfortunately, at times you need to just go, do you know what? Yeah, we need another front player. And I'm not saying we have to go and sign Erling Haaland or Kylian Mbappe, but we need to go and give more competition to these players, because, you look at Robertson, he's now got a little bit of competition with Smikas. There's not many positions in this Liverpool team where there's 2 players vying for that position. It's very, very easy to go through the team and go, that's probably the 11. And then, there's 1 or 2 positions really that you'd say, maybe there's a 50-50 chance of this person or this person. But if everybody's fit, you could pretty much pick the 11, and you could guarantee that would be the 11 going through. Probably only the third midfielder is the only one because Gini's gone. But from last season, the 11 picked itself, and 1 injury, we're back to the same 11. Even with the team we have now, you look at Manchester. You look at Manchester City, don't you? Sterling can have a whole week off because he's not playing well, and say Mane's had a bad game tonight. Mane gets dropped in the next game for Jota. Firmino recovers and Salah starts. Mane comes on as a sub because there's no one else. So
before you move on, just on that with the 11 that you're saying that picks itself. If you're a player, and I have no doubt that Liverpool Football Club, if the top players are available, we're at the table looking to see if a deal can be done. We're not just going to turn around and go, not going to do that. I personally, I don't think that's the case. I think we would always make inquiries. But if you're a player and you're looking at Liverpool's 11 and let's look at it. You're Lautaro Martinez. At the top of your game at Inter Milan, bagging goals week in, week out. You're bagging goals week in, week out. Yeah, he's a 50-60 million pound player. So you would say that's achievable. You'd say that's attainable.
Yeah.
But he's going to look at that front line and go, they got Salah, they got Firmino, they've got Mane, they've got Jota. How do I break into that front line?
Yeah, but look at Grealish looks at Man City. They've got Mahrez, they've got Torres, they've got Sterling, they've got Jesus, they've got De Bruyne. But he backs himself to go in there and make an impact.
Grealish was better than what they had.
All top players would do that. Yeah, but Martinez knows right now he's better than Firmino as a goal scorer.
You're smoking.
Get in the comments, guys. Who would you rather have up front this season, Firmino or Martinez?
Martinez cannot do what Firmino done. Until when Firmino was on the park, just now, he stopped Jorginho playing. As soon as Firmino came off the park, Jorginho got hold of the game.
But I don't want my striker to stop Jorginho playing. I want my striker to score the winning goal in a 2-1 win against 10 men.
But you've got Salah and you've got Mane who are inside forwards, and that way you change the whole way you're playing.
Who didn't score today?
But that way you have to change the whole way that you're playing. So now you're saying we have to have a tactical and formational change.
We just need an option. Yeah, we need to change it up. It's been the same for too long. It's too predictable.
And when it's Martinez to come off the bench or sit at the bench, Liverpool Football Club. So unfortunately, we have the Origi.
I wouldn't. I'd put Firmino. I put Firmino on the bench. I'd put Jota on the left, Salah on the right, and make the other two work for their game.
Bobby's not going to sit on the bench.
He can leave then. We've got the best out of him now.
But then you're stuck with Origi and Jota, so you're back to square one. So my point being is you can't go out and try and spend in the window unless you're Manchester City, where you turn around and say to these luxury players, and you have two to every single position, and you say to them, don't worry, mate, you can have the bench, but you're going to be earning 300,000 a week. That's what those clubs do. That's why those players go there, because it doesn't become so much about the football, like Klopp was saying. It becomes about how much money you're earning. So I do see where you're coming from, but we have to be realistic with what we're doing. And again, I agree with you. Martinez does score goals. The point here I'm making is not about his goal contribution. It's about whether he would be prepared to come to Liverpool Football Club knowing that his game time is going to be halved. He's not going to do that.
I don't think he would be. I think he'd come for the fight. You know, he's 7 years younger than Firmino. I think he'd come and back himself to become the main number 9 at the club. And Firmino would have to up his game.
He's just won the Scudetto and he's about to play Champions League with Inter Milan. He's not leaving there. They've just renewed his contract.
Lukaku wanted to leave to play in the best league in the world.
Because they didn't have a number 9. They did not have a number 9. They had Werner. If you're Lukaku, you're going to look at Werner and go, mate, you're shit. I'm going to come in and take your shirt.
So what's the difference? Look at Firmino. You'd look at Firmino and goes, he's not scored 15 goals for 3 years in the Premier League.
But
let's get in and replace him.
Don't play that way of football. So this is why someone like Jota came in, because Jota is an up-and-coming talent. The same reason why we're linked to Jeremy Doku, because he's an up-and-coming talent. That, unfortunately, that's the way that we do business. We're looking at up-and-coming talents which are prepared to come and bide their time and say, do you know what? You're the next up. We're going to phase this generation of players out and you're going to pave the new way. You look at Curtis Jones, you look at Harvey Elliott, players like that, which are starting to forge their way in the Liverpool team. They're going to start featuring. You look at players like Petaluga, who we've bought for the future. The academy's starting to produce players. We're just a different model. And I don't subscribe to this whole thing is that you're not a top fan if you want to do things differently. We all have aspirations for our team, and I wholeheartedly respect and understand what you're saying. But I'm just trying to be the voice of reason, saying that it's never going to happen. So let's let go of these pipe dreams and love our club and just go along for the ride and be calm.
I think that's where we were split then, because the ambition for me is to be the best. And unfortunately, when people are spending £100 million and buying Cristiano Ronaldo, you're not going to be. You have to try and keep up. And, you know, you can't just say, we've got a good team, we play a certain way, we just have to suck it up. We actually don't have to suck it up. We are allowed to actually say, do you know what, FSG, as owners of Liverpool, you might actually have to spend some money now and again that you have in your pocket. If you can't do it and you don't want to keep Liverpool at the top table and you're expecting Klopp and Edwards to work miracles, and we're trying to sack off, you know, Origi and Shaqiri and get rid of all these players so we can actually spend 30 million on deadline day. It's not good enough. So I don't understand why we're in this position where we're like, oh, you know, it's fine. Firmino only scores 10 goals a season. Mane might get 11. It's fine, you know. And if you say anything against it, you know, you're not a proper fan. You're allowed to have ambition. We've won the top 2 trophies, so again, we need to go out and spend. That's what we need to do. We need to go and get a Martinez. We need to go and get I would have wanted a Tielemans and a Martinez, but you look at the other three big teams. You should be able to spend £100 and be £100 worse off at the end of the summer. That's how football clubs are run, unfortunately. And if you don't do that, you'll be left behind.
I disagree. If it's your business, and you're a businessman, because as football fans, we often forget off the field. We get so hung up with what's going on the field that we now forget that football is a business. We lost the right to football the day we let these ownership groups into our clubs. The day that the British people, the British fan-owned clubs, sold our clubs out to foreign ownership, we lost all right to football. Because guess what? We wanted these glitzy signings. Yeah, we wanted all of that. We wanted these sexy signings. But the moment your club goes to the wall, it's all panic stations. They're demonstrating, going, oh my God, the place is falling down. There's leaks. There's this, there's that. The Glazers went out and got Ronaldo because they were shit scared that Manchester United were going to march on them again. And £25 million and £400,000 a week is worth a lot more to them than their share price dropping. It was a business decision. That's all it was. It's got nothing to do with football because they've got Cavani there. A 36-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, phenomenal player, by the way, and I think he's one of the greatest players of all time. As much as it pains me to say, he's one of the greatest of all time. So he is going to bring that X factor to Manchester United, but it's more of a commercial sign than anything. And Klopp said it again in the presser. I sign players for footballing reasons, not for commercial reasons. I sign players because I feel they can improve us. Is it just possible that rather than being a money thing, that we just haven't found the right players that can improve us? Again, we look back to January last year. Maybe we didn't sign someone because we just didn't find the right player to come in and improve us.
We're just not prepared to drop that kind of money. I mean, if this is the other way around, and Chelsea are against, if Chelsea are against a 10-man Liverpool at Stamford Bridge for 45 minutes and they get a draw, they're fuming. That's 2 points dropped. The fans are kicking off, and Liverpool fans, some Liverpool fans are saying, "Yeah, that's okay. It's a 1-1 draw. There's 35 games to go." No, that's a massive opportunity to get 3 points ahead of the direct title rival.
I agree
massive,
with you,
massive
but I'm not mad.
Disappointment.
I agree with you, but I'm disappointed that we didn't walk out with 3 points, but I'm not mad because I know that we've got 35 other games to get results. So I'm not going to come on here and critique a result that potentially could be a moot point in 35 games. At the end of the season, if we lose the league by 2 points, I'll be absolutely fuming. And I'll look back on that game and go, do you know what? Fuck it. We should have capitalized in that, but we didn't. Just quickly switching tack though, because another point that we discussed on the way back from the terrace yesterday was the inclusion of Andy Robertson, and we were debating whether he comes in or if he doesn't, or so on and so forth. His performance was a lot to be desired today, and I can only say, and it's not a slur against Andy Robertson because he's a phenomenal player, but I feel that his performance today wasn't at the level of an Andy Robertson. Do you know what I mean? At his own lofty standards. And that's his first game back. He's going to take a bit of time to come in and to adjust. But surely, Tsimikas done everything to deserve his inclusion today. So maybe we should have started with Tsimikas. And you and I said on the way back from the terrace, he puts him in, he has a worldie, it's a masterstroke. He puts him in, he has a shit game, and we're all going, oh, you should have played Tsimikas.
No, I mean, I think this comment, and I was about to say the same thing as Ramez. The whole of the left-hand side was poor. Robertson and Mane were both well off it. And
cohesion.
Of course, Robertson hasn't played since that the Bilbao pre-season friendly. So it's been a little while, but myself and yourself mentioned anyone other than Chelsea, Tsimikas probably starts the game and Robertson maybe gets the last half an hour. But I think today, Robertson was on the bench last week. He's probably had a full week of training as well. So I would be amazed if he didn't start this game. So I wasn't surprised to see him in there. And of course, he's not going to be exactly where he is. He's not going to be a 10 out of 10 Robertson, but I think Tsimikas has been massively, massively overhyped. He's played a couple of good games. He got an assist. Yes, he's okay. He's a decent backup. He's nothing more. There's no chance that he's anywhere near Andy Robertson. And as soon as Robertson's available again, of course, he should go straight back in. But for me, this is kind of the point I'm getting at throughout the entire video. You look at Chelsea, look at the players that didn't even play today. If Timo Werner sits on the bench for the whole game, and if Havertz has a shocker tonight, then he won't be playing in the next game. But Liverpool, no matter, we can have the front three or a 4 out, all the 4 out of 10 today, and they all start next week because Bobby's injured.
So those fullback positions, then let's look at it. Are you saying that Alonso is better than Tsimikas?
Probably slightly, yeah.
Fuck off. Alonso is shit. He was on toast the whole game. The thing
he's all right. They're both. I mean, Chilwell and Robertson are obviously both better, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say either of them are brilliant.
Alonso is a system player. He plays today because he's better in the wing back position than Chilwell. If they play a back four, Chilwell plays. But they're not going to play a back four, so Chilwell's hugging bench. But you're never going to. That's what I'm saying. So I feel Tsimikas was slightly hard done by today, but I understand the decision. The magnitude of the game means that Robbo is to start. You look at it and you go game experience, and what he could potentially offer you. Yeah, I take that gamble and I put him in. But Tsimikas could feel hard done by today. I mean, some great comments in here as well. Sorry, guys, we've not been popping a lot of your comments up. There's one here from Kev O'Sullivan. Chilwell is average, not £50 million worth. I agree with you, pal. Next one down from Naman. Liverpool and City are not miles better than most teams anymore. Teams have caught up. I agree with you. And this is what I'm saying. The expenditure they've had is to close that gap. So I totally agree with you. It is tighter now. I agree. So you make a great point there as well. Next one down. They also have
with this one. This is my point. Pulisic, Ziyech, and Timo Werner did not, as far as I'm aware, didn't even feature today, and that's exactly the point I'm getting at. We don't have players that can just not feature. Every single one of our decent players that are fit have to feature because we don't trust Minamino, we don't trust Origi, and that's the difference. That's why Chelsea won the Champions League. That's why Man City won the league in a COVID-hit season, because they've got the biggest squads. They can handle injuries. They can handle COVID. We can't. So our first, if our first 11 was the best first 11 in the world, which it was for a couple of years when we won the title, we came second with 90-odd points and we won the Champions League. Great. Our first 11 isn't the best 11 in the world anymore. Firmino and Mane do not get into the top teams in the world. That's what's changed. And that's why we're not going to win the league this season without another signing.
Firmino, okay, so let's look at it. Mane's better than Havertz. Facts. Mane's better than Havertz. You said it on yourself on the terrace last night. Only 3 players out of that Chelsea lineup get into our starting 11. I'm not specifically doing one against the other. I'm just saying in terms of world 11s, we used to have one of the best in the world, and right now we don't. Again, I disagree. I don't look at our 11 and feel that we're miles behind. I don't look at our 11.
No, we only need one or two signers. A Tielemans and a Martinez, we win the league. At the moment, it's not happening. And if without that red card and without that penalty, we lose 1-0 today.
No, we were dominating the game we dominated the game from start to finish. We've got to look at it from a perspective, which I agree with your earlier point. We failed to capitalize on our chances. I do feel that we would have made it. That we would have come out of that game with at least a draw. Yeah, it had draw written all over it from start to finish. Yeah, Chelsea came, they sat in, they tried to play on a counter attack. Every time the ball was going up to Lukaku, who might add got absolutely dusted by Virgil van Dijk.
He didn't do anything today, did he?
He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything to Virgil van Dijk. But the Chelsea fans, their kind of silver lining is that they got a draw. So if we'd have won, we'd have had the bragging rights that Lukaku was shit and Virgil's better. And again, look, there you go. Havertz 10 here is clearly a Chelsea fan. Imagine if it was 11v11. I'm looking at 11v11. It probably would have ended 1-1, pal. So, it probably would have ended by 1-1. Don't feel all hard done by because your left back decides he wants to start hooking balls out of the net. it is what it is. It's a red card. He goes off. That's the letter of the game.
It was almost the worst thing that could have happened for Liverpool, wasn't it? Because it's a good comment here from Nanam, where he says, "I think we had played better against 11v11 because
I agree.
Once teams go down to 10 men, it does become that low block. It does become that Burnley West Brom style, which we have notoriously struggled to break down. And I was calling for Thiago at half time. He comes on in the 71st minute for Henderson. And, you know, already Chelsea are pretty settled. They've already got a back five. They've got Kante.
Was that the wrong change? I was expecting to see Elliott go off for Thiago and leave Hendo on to potentially cover the counter-attack. When Thiago came on and Henderson went off, I felt we were subjected to counter-attacks. You started to see things open up a little bit. Massive gamble.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if you're against 10 men, do you need Henderson and Fabinho? You'd argue probably not, in terms of they both kind of play that quarterback role, albeit they do play it slightly differently. But they are the people that regurgitate the ball once it's cleared and start again. So bringing on Thiago made sense. I think Elliott, again, I don't know if he should have played as long as he did today, but because we have no other option, we've got Keita on the bench. You know, got a £60 million midfielder on the bench, and he doesn't get a minute because an 18-year-old's on the pitch.
Let's not get into the Keita debate. Let's
not go there. But it just shows you that the options that are there behind the 11, behind the 10, behind the 9, you know, the 9 or 10 that you could realistically put down every week to play. There's nothing else there, and it's gone so stale because there's been summers before this summer where we've brought in Adrian on a free, and that's it. So we've stood still for way too long.
So before we close, then we've been linked with Yves Bissouma.
God.
We've been linked with Yves Bissouma. And I've had numerous different things drop into my Twitter inbox. He's saying it's on, saying it's off, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. I look at Bissouma as that player who is in that category below, which isn't a superstar, but he has the potential to be. Yeah. And that's where I feel Liverpool shop. Yeah. They shop in flannels. They don't shop in Harrods. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you can't keep unearthing, you know, hidden gems. Like, you know, everybody goes, oh, we got Robertson from Hull for 8 million and that worked out well. Well, unfortunately, if you buy Brighton players, you're not going to win the big trophies. You need to go and get Leicester's best player and Aston Villa's best player. So unfortunately,
I love how you and you've done very, very well walk into my lair. Look at Leicester as a prime example. Their scouting team is the main MVP.
Yeah, but they're Leicester.
If there are awards for scouting teams, Leicester win it. Yeah. So what tends to happen with the big teams, is they look at a Bissouma, and we would have been well aware. We would have been well aware of Bissouma. We would have been well aware. Our scouting team would have known. But they look at that player and say, very much like Tielemans, and I draw your attention back to the Rodgers era. We wanted to sign Tielemans from Anderlecht. We were all over him. And someone somewhere at Liverpool said, nah, he needs to prove himself. He needs to go to a team where he can nurture and he can grow, because he's not quite ready for Liverpool Football Club.
Now he is. He is.
He goes to Monaco. He proves himself. He goes to Leicester. He proves himself. Now we're looking at a player that would have cost us 20 million back then, who's now going to cost us 70 million pounds now. And we're kind of bulking at the price. So my argument,
you can't have it both ways, can you? If you
can't have it both ways.
Yeah, so you play the risk factor and you get them early and see what happens, or you wait and get a proven player, and we don't do either.
Yeah. So my argument will be, is that the model we're using is right, because we've looked at it back then and gone, we don't want to do that. We want him to go and get experience. Oh shit, he's 70 million pound now. Whereas we're looking at a Bissouma going, he's 40 M's now. Do we want him to go to AC Milan or to Monaco, absolutely start tearing up trees with these fantastic scouting departments, and then all of a sudden we go, we really want Yves Bissouma, but he's 70 M, so we're not going to do it. So we like you said, we can't have it both ways. We've kind of got to make those, and I always refer to them as risk-free signings. If we sign Bissouma at 40 million pounds and it goes belly up, we could recuperate 40 million pounds, providing we don't leave it too long to try and move him on, like we've done with Origi, like we've done with Shaqiri. We waited a window too long to get these people out of the club. So we're now being held at ransom. So guys, great comments from you guys in here as well. Really, really good one from Justin here as well. I'm convinced Klopp doesn't fancy a cam. All he wants are runners all over the team. I agree with partially with that. I think, though, that we're seeing a slight change in tactic with Harvey Elliott. I feel like Harvey Elliott is almost playing that Coutinho role now. Yeah, he's come in and we've missed the player. When we were talking about when Coutinho left, oh my God, what are we going to do? But we went on and we won trophies. But we do need that option which can come on and play that role. Shaqiri wasn't it, but Harvey Elliott showing promise as well. KT with a good comment here as well. Then he should get horses instead of footballers. Again, you make a good point, but our engine room has proved to be effective. Obviously, we don't have Gini Wijnaldum in the squad at the moment because he's left us and departed for pastures new. But we do have Jordan Henderson, which is a phenomenal athlete, and football is now a system game. Great comment here as well. From
this one, yeah, this is the one that I want to end on because I completely agree. This model did not work before Klopp arrived, and it will not work when he leaves.
I agree, and I put a tweet out 2 days ago to that effect, to that same effect. Without Jurgen Klopp at their helm, and I concede, this model will not work because the main feather in our cap is Jurgen Klopp. We lose Klopp, the model has to change, and I feel that at that point, FSG will either spend or they'll get exposed. That's where I feel it will come. And at that point, I'll be very much prepared to be out screaming FSG out when that happens. But right now, I'm calm. I'm very calm. Couple more comments before we go. One here from Mr. Slackerlot. Yeah. Alonso has experience. Dude, really? Listen, what I want you to do, Mr. Slackercott, is go back and watch the game, but maybe you left your glasses on the side when you were watching that game.
He's all right. He's a decent rotation option.
Alonso was on toast all game. He was on toast. I like buttered Alonso up and served him to my 2-year-old. He was on toast. Yeah. Alonso, and my brother is a Chelsea fan. I sat with my brother and watched the first half, and every other word was Alonso shit, Alonso shit. Why is he on the park? Why have we not replaced him? Why have we not gone and got someone else? Alonso is clung on by the skin of his teeth. And you look at Lampard. Lampard wanted him out because he knew how shit he was. Let's have it as it is. Alonso is poor as hell. I'm sorry. He's poor. Right, guys. Thank you for joining us. It's been absolutely amazing debating Liverpool's transfer business and the result and so on and so forth. We descended into a back and forth between me and my co-host. I can assure you we are friends off screen. But sometimes this way, innit? Sometimes, no, that way. That way. Sometimes we just got to drop it as it is. And we don't always agree. You know, that's what football is about. It's subjective. It's opinions. It is what it is. LM7 as well, in here as well. Good chat, fellas. Look, we appreciate you guys' input as well. Guys, before we go, SS, what we got coming up?
Yeah, so if you've not followed us already, guys, come and give us a subscribe on Red Sea Podcast. So type that into your YouTube show right now, the Red Sea Podcast. You'll find us, subscribe. We're on our way to 300 subs. Do it. There's 88 of you in the chat. I expect 88 extra subscribers in the next 5 minutes. So we are going to be doing a transfer deadline day special on, obviously on Tuesday, 10 till 11, the last hour. Me and James will be on there with some special guests. I think we've got Paul from Redmen coming on, Leanne from The Wrap. Hopefully someone from Trippers as well. We'll jump on for 10 minutes or so. Other than that, international break. International breaks coming up. So we might get back to our striker tier lists as well. So if you type in the Red Sea Podcast, guys, you'll find if you type in the tier list, you'll find all our previous ones as well. But yeah, other than that, it will be a little bit of a break from match previews while the internationals come back on. But yeah, we're always dropping content. There's always the Red Sea Down Under. We've got our Australian content. They do training grounds, so they'll be picking the bones out of this game for sure, and looking at all the different bits and pieces where we could improve. What difference could we have done? Could we have made a different sub, or are we really needing to go back and dip into that market? Yeah, I agree. There's some spam. There's some spam in the chat here. Don't pop it up because we don't pop up spam in there as well. Cool. About 4 times this person's put in it. Someone's desperate to have a bit of fame in the chat. But guys, look, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure doing your match reactions today. I've been Thiago's father. This has been my co-host SS. Catch us back here after the international break with more
match reactions on the Red Sea full time. Like I said, if you haven't already, and like SS said, please head over to the Red Sea Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube and give us a follow. And if you are new to the LFC Daytrippers as well, please hit that bell button, like, subscribe, so you do not miss another notification as to what we have got going on here at the Red Sea Podcast and the LFC Daytrippers. Thank you and have a good evening.